Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, you guys, I'm Kristi Saul coming at you live because Big Papa's attempt to post Daily Dose was, it was a fail. I guess he's someplace where he doesn't have very good signal. So he was out someplace with a beautiful background, and I'm sure he had some wonderful words of wisdom, and I'm sure we will get them on a future date. So this is Kristi Saul, the co-founder of the Post+Institute, stepping in for Big Papa while he is out and about doing what he does. I know that this weekend he had a full day training that he did with professionals and parents and people who will be respite workers for some of the families in the community that he's working in. So that, I'm going to tell you, is really, really cool. I love that he's partnering with an organization up in Northern California in Crescent City. And what they're doing there is super cool. They're training families, and then they're also training respite workers so that everybody is on the same page. They're training social workers, they're training families, and they're also training people in the community to provide support to those families so that they can have good, effective respite care. So that's pretty awesome. So today, what did I say I was going to talk about? Oh yeah, I remember. When we stress, we regress, and this is true for us all. It is true for us all, and if you ever wonder about whether or not it's true for us all, just think about road rage. Just think about how angry we get in traffic and how we yell and scream at traffic. That's kind of a regressed behavior, isn't it? Or think about one of those NFL coaches or a college coach who's throwing a big old temper tantrum. A meltdown on the sidelines. $1 million coach has a meltdown on the sidelines, right? When we stress, we regress. It is true for us all. And we all have defaults that we fall into. And I think that probably is one of the most interesting and important things to take note of. My personal default is something that feels very victimized, and it is something that comes from way back in my 0 to about age 5 blueprints. There's something in there where I felt very left out, and so I feel very victimized. When I stress and regress, my points of regression, my default emotional state is one where I begin to feel victimized. My pastor, I remember him saying his 2 areas of regression, when he regresses, he falls into greed and lust. And his wife was saying that she falls into self-pity, which is very similar to feeling victimized. So we all have different defaults. And I think it's very important to look at them, because anytime, especially with victimhood, when we're feeling victimized, then that means somebody is the perpetrator, and oftentimes we feel like that is our kids. And that is a really difficult place to be. It's a difficult place to be when you are feeling victimized and you feel like your child is the perpetrator, when the reality is that everybody's doing the best they can. That when our kids are struggling, we're usually feeling victimized, because right back behind us, we're feeling like our backs are up against the wall as parents, trying to get our kids to do something that the world outside is dictating needs to be done, like get to school on time, or get homework done, or wear certain kinds of clothes, or eat certain kinds of food, or the list can go on of things that we're trying to get our kids to do. And when they resist, oftentimes they're just like you, sometimes have an instinct no, where somebody asks you something and you just say no. That happens to our kids a lot of times. A lot of times they just say no, even though they don't even really know what you ask them. So When we stress, we regress. Oftentimes our kids are regressed, and in their regression, we can begin to feel victimized, and that is a sign of our own regression. So then we can have a child who's regressed to usually toddlerhood, and toddlerhood's a very typical age of regression because so much happens during that time. These ages of regression are oftentimes ages where significant trauma took place in significant absence. And so you think about statistically, children up to about age 5, that's the most vulnerable ages for abuse, neglect, and even death at the hands of a caregiver. It's a pretty serious thing to say, but those are just facts. So those points of regression for your children are often, I'm trying to think what the term Brian uses. I think he calls it like some sort of like a trauma barrier, that it's a time where significant challenges took place and they get kind of stuck there. So when their emotions get heightened, it's in the brain stem, right? Back to that brain stem, it just trips into a groove that was put in place during some very difficult times in their lives, and so they drop into these particular ages. You think about toddlerhood, when kids are exploratory and they're wanting to do things. It's like their first step of autonomy, and they think it's the real thing, right? They think they're really grown up, but they're just little 2-year-olds, and that's a time when it's a time that's really difficult for a lot of parents, and it's a time that a lot of kids get injured and get overlooked, and so they regress to being 2-year-olds, and then oftentimes as parents we regress to being like adolescents and teenagers, and it's like we're waiting for the parent to get home so we can tell. It's like we feel like we're just like the babysitter, and we're waiting for dad to come home, and I'm going to tell dad on what you did, when that's just a sign. When we feel victimized, it's just a sign. It's just a red flag. Whoo, red flag, red flag. We have dropped down into a place in our own brainstem, a different place. We have regressed ourselves. We have exceeded our window of stress tolerance. Everybody step back. Everybody take some deep breaths. Everybody realize that oftentimes the things that we're pressing to have happen right now, they don't have to happen right this minute. They're going to happen. Our kids are going to get where they need to go. They're going to develop, they're going to mature, it's all going to work out. Take a deep breath, step back, and remember that little trick. You ask 3 times, hey, put this on. You might get a little more insistent second time, third time. If you keep getting rebuffed, if you keep getting that resistance, then you need to step back and drop it, because you're going to get into a battle of wills, and that's not going to get you where you want to go. And then you're going to feel painted. I'm just telling you, you're going to feel painted into a corner, because now you've drawn the line in the sand, and your kid's still telling you no, and you're going to feel like the only recourse you have is to use physical punishment, to use physical aggression, to use corporal punishment. And I remember Pat O'Brien said it really well. He was straight up. He said, when you are dealing with children who come from traumatic backgrounds, and you start bumping up against that resistance, and you take the might makes right line of thinking, these kids, they don't respond to that. They don't respond to that physical threat. And if you enter into that arena with them, these are kids that you could literally beat them till they were bleeding, and it's not going to change the behavior. So let's just not go there. It's not going to help. It's not going to help your relationship. It's not going to improve their behavior, and it's not going to get where you want to go. It's not going to correct what it is you're trying to correct. And so, I'm speaking that from a person that I have great respect for, Pat O'Brien, who kind of specializes in the arena of adopting teens. And so if anybody knows about the rough highway, I would say that man does. And he has, 30 years plus experience in working with kids. And if he tells me you don't want to go that route, I'm going to trust him on that, right? So default, that's what we were talking about, and how we can all drop into a different place, a different sort of developmental stage. And when we begin to drop into those default ways of thinking and feeling, when we start feeling victimized by our children and we're perceiving them as the perpetrator, that is just a red flag that everybody needs to step back, take some deep breaths, reassess the situation, reevaluate what's really important, and give yourself some time to cool off and come back to it. It's all going to work out. Good evening, Kirsten, Amy. It's great to see you. I was thinking about you and your daughter today and how much I enjoyed meeting you both. I hope she gets a little chocolate treat today. Tell her I said hi, and I was thinking about that story she told me. And Mimi, it's always good to see you. I need to give you a call and catch up. And everybody else who's out there watching, I know you're not saying hi, but that's okay. Thank you for watching today. And hopefully Brian will be back with us tomorrow. Hopefully there's something in this message that's helpful to you guys. We're all in this together. We all want good things for our kids. We want good things for your kids. And we're here to support and encourage. Go easy on yourself. Today, I would have to say across the nation of the U.S., today is official. Like a lot of people started school about 3 weeks ago, and then in the East Coast especially, I know they just started school today. So, when your kids get home, just love on them. Be glad they're home, show it. Be like, man, I'm so glad you're home. Welcome back. Tell me what happened in your world. I want to hear about everything that I missed. And if they're too tired to tell you, just give them a great big hug. Feed them some good food. Snuggle up on the couch. Watch a little TV and put them to bed. And you get to bed too. Much love to you guys. Take care.